Moving on to the next kind of charts that we have available, you'll see in the next line over here in the visualization, you have line charts, area charts, and so on. And then you have these combination charts where you can combine the line and stacked column chart and so on. So what we're going to start looking at now is going to be a line chart. What is the purpose of having a line chart? A line chart is mostly used in scenarios when you want to analyze the data by the time dimension. So we want to see the sales across years, then we are going to use a line chart because it is going to show in terms of a line that would display some kind of trend, and we can get some value out of that information. So let's add a line chart to a designer canvas window and make it a little bigger. And now what we are going to add over here uh, is an axis. So this is going to be an axis which is going to be mostly a time axis. You can have some other axis as well. But what is the purpose of the line chart is to convey the information across a period of time so that you are able to visualize some kind of trend. That is why it is most useful in scenarios where you want to analyze the data by the time dimension. Okay, then you can add some values, legends, and so on. So let's start with adding our sales dollar amount once again to the values because that is what we are going to analyze over here. So just drag and drop it to the values. You see one fine dot over here because we are yet to categorize it. And then let's see it by the date dimension. So let's go to date. Let's just drag and drop the whole thing over here. I don't want my day and water. I just want to see it across the years. So now I have all these years of data and I can see a nice line chart which shows me that my sales was at the peak around the year of 2006, and then it has dropped and it has been dropping since then. So there's something which is going wrong and something that I need to analyze, and my trend right now is it has dropped and now it's starting to pick up again. Okay, so you can analyze based on this data the different options that you might have. Now if you look at the bottom again, and let's increase the text size to make it a little clearer again, you can see that at the bottom you have the years. Okay, you have these different years, and on this axis, the y-axis, you have your sales amount. Now there's one more option over here, which is going to be your legends option. So what it would do is basically, again, color code this according to the category that you define, which in our case is going to be category itself. So let's drag and drop this to category. So what is going to happen is that for each category, you're going to get a different line based on whatever were your sales amount for that category across all these years. Now, if you go to the formatting option, see what is available for this. Uh, we might be able to add the data label. So you can go to data colors and change the color. So that is similar to the thing that you have in other. We can turn on the data labels and you'll be able to see the amounts, the exact data point or data values across all these years. If you click on the drop down over here, you can change the color and everything for even the display units. There's something called a label density, which is interesting over here. You can increase the label density or decrease it. For now, it is at 50%. If you increase the label density, you will see that you get more data points on your graph. But if you decrease it, let's see, you'll get decreased data points on your graph. If it is making it too cluttered by adding these data points, you can go and decrease the label density so that there are points at decent intervals and it does not make your graph look too cluttered. All right. So that is an interesting feature that you can change. Others are your standard features. Let's see what is there in shape. Shape is basically defining your line types and things. So you can change the width. If I increase the width, it will make all these lines a little thicker. So again, depending on your requirement, how you want to see your join type. Okay. There's slight changes which you don't know. You can change your line type either to dashed. So now you can have dashed lines or dotted lines. Show marker. Okay, if you make it show marker, all these data points will be highlighted. You can change your marker shape. So by default, it is a circle. You can choose some other shape if you want. Maybe you want it to be like this, which is not very visible as you can see, but you can change the marker size, right? If you make the marker size a little bigger, it might become visible. So you can show it like this if you want. If you make it stepped, it is going to, the line is not going to be smooth, but something like that, showing you different steps. Okay. If you customize series, then you can again set all these different features over here. All right, just to customize it in a different way. So these are different things that you can do with a line graph. Line graph, as I mentioned earlier, is used to analyze the data across the time dimension mostly because it gives you a simple smooth line that shows you the whether you're having growth across your sales or you are going downwards or upwards. So it gives you a very nice display of information across a period of time. Now, there's some interesting features that we can use with the line charts and which are available in this analytics option. So if you click on the analytics icon for the line chart, you'll see that you have the maximum number of options available over here. So you have something called a constant line, which we have already seen for the bar chart, where you're just going to define a constant line at some value, at some constant value over here. So it might be used for something like your target goal. If you want to define your minimum lines, maximum lines, average lines, so you want to add an average line, and it will tell you that these are your average sales and in which year you have gone above your average sales, in which year you have gone below your average sales. All these kind of nice lines you can see. You can add a median line, percentage line, and so on. What is interesting over here, maybe to add, is a trend line. A trend line is simply going to show your trend again, which is going to be your, um, it's already added as you can see. It's a straight line. It's not very straight actually. It's a little, it has got a little slope over here. And you can um, set the different properties again for this trend line. Let's go back to the format option first and remove the category so that we are able to see it in a better way. Okay, so now we have just one trend line, which is your sales across years. All right, and now what we have done, we have gone to the analytics pane, added a trend line, which is going to be black in color. And this is simply going to calculate a trend for, so there's an upwards trend that we can see, okay, from this point. So you can see your 1999, 2000 sales. If you hover on this on different points, you'll be able to see your sales. Okay, so it's upward for now, we can see, so it might be good. Then you can again change all these values, all these colors, your transparency level, and so on. You can make it, don't want it to be show this prominent, so you can just make it a little more transparent so that it does not stand out that much. Now, what is the most interesting feature actually in this line chart is something called a forecast. So now you'll see that there is an option that got added to the analytics bar, which is going to be the forecast option. And we could not see this earlier, if you would have noticed when we had these. Let's go back and do that again. So let's add something to the legend, which is going to be our category. And now let's go to the analytics pane. And if we look at the different options, over here, we don't find the forecast option. So forecast option has some requirements to be able to see that option. One of the requirements is that you should not have any value in the legends. Okay, because these are now for different legends. It does not create multiple forecasts for different legends. You should have just one clean, nice line chart on your visualization pane. So now if you go to the analytics pane, you'll see that there's an option on the right hand side which is called forecast. Now what does forecast mean? Forecast is simply forecasting your sales, in this case sales, because we are visualizing sales by year. So it is going to forecast your sales for the future years based on the data that we already have. So let's go to forecast and add, and as soon as we clicked on add, it created a forecast. This gray area over here is your forecast. Okay, now these are your forecast one. You have the upper bounds and the lower bounds. So it has created a forecast for the year 2015 because we had data only till half of 2015 in this data set. So it has created a forecast for the end of 2015, and it has some upper bound and lower bound. So your forecast can vary between these limits. Then it has created for 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and so on. So it has created till 24. So almost 10 points of forecast it has created. So now what we can see and do over here is change these values if we want. So we do not want a forecast for 10 years. Probably we just want it for the next, let's say, 3 years. So change it to 3 points. Okay. And if you want to ignore any of your last points, you can do that as well. For example, we have the incomplete data for 2015. Um, so we do not want to consider 2015 data. Um, so this may be the scenario when you are computing it and you do not want to consider the current year because the current year has not ended. So obviously you don't have the complete and correct sales figures for the current year. So you want to ignore that last data point. So you can choose that, ignore your last data point. You can choose to ignore more than one data point. So if you're not confident that your data for one particular year is correct, you might want to ignore that particular point as well. So you can choose to ignore as many points as you want. These points are nothing but the intervals, and the intervals in our case are nothing but the years. Okay. And then there's something called the confidence interval, that how much positive you are for this forecast. You can increase it up to a 99%, take it down up to 75%. So if you want to increase it to 99%, then there is something called seasonality. So your sales peak in some particular seasons, you want to add that kind of information as well. So for that, you need to have seasonal data in your data set. Then it can take that into consideration as well. As soon as you click on apply, so it will create a new forecast based on whatever values that we specified for it. And now you can see that the forecast is only going till 2017 because we said that we wanted a forecast only for the next 3 points, which is going to be the 3 years in our case. And your confidence interval is going to be 99%. So whatever you are seeing over here is the forecasted sales for the next 3 years. Because we already had a trend line over here, you can see the trend line goes only till the actual data. It doesn't go into the forecast. Okay, so you can explore more on exactly how this forecast is getting created and computed behind the scenes in Power BI. But this is an interesting feature that can help you to project your sales for the next few years using this analytics option. And this is available only for the line chart.